Yeah, and I like it a lot. I don't know exactly how Hokori are going to decide to lane it. I've seen this Venge Grimstroke offlane before. I can also see them running this Dawnbreaker as a 3 position and then sticking an Inkswelled Dawnbreaker
Mm.
on any carry that Envy is going to want to play is going to put him in pretty dire straits. But it's so good with the Vengeful Spirit. You do so much damage. Magic Missile does a surprising lot for what a spell it is. I don't really think you'd ever see the double swap play, even though that would probably be pretty interesting. But I think more so it is to counter out the Pango in a more specialized way, as well as you can hit more than one hero with your spell. I think Rupture is just a little bit too single target. The Grimstroke definitely slots in a little bit better here. But that's where I really want to see Hikori actually flex this as a 3 and a 5 in the Dawnbreaker. I think a lot of teams are hesitant to run her as an offlaner because it is not guaranteed. It's still an unreliable hero. Teams don't have it down quite pat enough. But I think that's where a hero like Grimstroke can buff it up and make it feel a little bit more secure. And that's where I think this is going to be the Mu Earthshaker. And this is a really interesting pick. It's in the same vein as the Pangolier, where once the Dawnbreaker goes in, it becomes a little bit of a liability, especially before those BKBs. But you are creating a really nice BKB timing for Hikori if you pick up a little too much magic damage here on the 4Zoomers side.
Yeah, if that Earthshaker does end up in a core role, then the physical damage dealer isn't really here just yet. We'll have to wait to see what they do for Envy, because on the right hero, Envy can definitely balance things out as 4Zoomers come in for the Ember Spirit. Okay, so that does not immediately alleviate the concerns in terms of maybe being overly reliant on the magic damage, but now is this just going to be, as you said, maybe Mu on the Earthshaker, you send Gunner mid on the Ember, and you just slot that Pangolier into a supporting role, which, considering what Hokori have done to sort of take it out, it feels like it's going to be exactly what we saw in Game 1. Husky will just be put on that hero, and they'll basically tell him, do what you can, and if you have to be sacrificed, then so be it.
Yeah, that's probably what is going to happen here, but I'm real excited to see Mu Earthshaker. I think he is really good at doing what he does. I remember looking at the watch tab some random night and seeing him having like 25 kills and 14 assists. The man just knows what to do on the hero. It does feel broken, especially if you do get that tier 2 item, that being the Fey Grenade. Fey Grenade plus Totem, I don't think works as it expects to work. It's just a little bit crazy, but that's also where the Batrider does feel pretty good versus both the Ember Spirit and the Earthshaker. And now pairing it with the Grimstroke, I think Hokori, they're saying we've got not the best lockdown, but now we're going to try to out team fight you, outlast you. It's again a differing thought, but going back to now for Zoomers presenting themselves a really nice BKB timing for the Batrider. Once this Batrider gets BKB, there is nothing. There is no hero that's going to sit there like possibly the Clinks, where you go in and it feels like you're getting shredded apart. There's nothing yet picked up that yet for 4Zoomer's side. This Batrider feels incredibly free for Hokori's side.
Yeah, it's just 4Zoomers aren't going to be able to do a lot, especially once that BKB is picked up, as you said, and their lineup has pretty much no save. There isn't that sort of checkmate move on the Batrider to cancel out the lasso if he does go in. So I assume we're going to be seeing Analog on this hero. He is going to have a lot to potentially work with in some of these later fights. In the meantime, though, everybody, absolutely everybody, is focusing on carries here in the final phase. Gyro and Luna taken away by 4Zoomers. Hokori, meanwhile, Spectre and Phantom Lancer. So taking away some of those Envy heroes. We'll see what 4Zoomers really look for, but they need someone who can just dish out physical damage at a certain point, because this lineup doesn't really have a whole lot unless we're going to see, well, some maybe very specifically targeted damage builds from the Earthshaker and the Ember.
And then Medusa?
Oh,
Weaver.
okay.
Okay, that's an interesting pick. I think really when you see all of these carry heroes banned out already, you think about heroes like the Medusa, you think about the Terrorblade, but they don't play for that matchup. Instead, they're going for the Weaver. If this does end up being a Dawnbreaker offlane, I think that lane really sucks for Envy now, but if it's not a Dawnbreaker off, then maybe it's going to be a little bit better. Aside from that, though, when you see supports like these, the Weaver is really good at getting on this backline. There is not going to be a lot of support coming out for you, and it's going to be a 4 Dawnbreaker.
Okay.
Okay. that's a much different position than anything we've seen, and that's where I think they go for the Artio Ursa because you do need that pace setter. You need someone who's going to naturally build Basher and get on top of this backline. You don't necessarily want to pick Troll versus Pango and Earthshaker. You're just going to get blocked off by that Fisher and kite it around. But okay, this is a much more active lineup from both of these teams. We're not seeing those boring carry heroes anymore. I'm very excited. We're actually going to see some aggressive lineups for once from both sides.
Yeah, just, I mean, the other strategies have their place, but every once in a while we kind of want to see things mixed up a little bit. And yeah, Weaver Ursa, those two can get some stuff done early. And for Hokori, honestly, I don't know. The Venge offlane is always kind of hit or miss, but I feel like in this scenario, putting the Dawnbreaker on the 4 means that maybe Envy doesn't have quite as free a time getting onto that backline. You were mentioning when they picked it up, the Weaver can get in there, maybe hit some of those supports on the backline, but you've got the Dawnbreaker who's going to be hard to break through. Vitaly on the Venge should have higher farming priority and will probably be a little bit tougher as well. So really Gardic becomes the only quote-unquote easy target for him to take down, and that may not even be the case. Grimstroke with his kit can buy a little bit of time for himself. So the switch up on that positioning from what we expected maybe makes their lineup as a whole a little bit more durable so that the Weaver can't just get in and blow someone up.
Yeah, and that's where I really feel like Hikori should own this Venge lane. I think that Weaver does not like to play versus 4s that get up in your face. Of course, Weaver had the quality of life change where Geminate attack can now be disabled by autocast, so you do get to choose whenever that extra damage comes through. But aside from that, I feel like Hikori can actually punish him pretty hard. Of course, Weaver is one of those heroes that plays very well versus the Batrider. If you don't kill him in that initial lasso, time lapse is brutal. You get to purge off all of those napalm stacks. You get a ton of your health back. That's where 4Zoomers, they don't have the save though. It is going to be Envy really relying on himself, the vision, what he's able to do decision-making wise. Whether or not he gets picked off is going to be really entirely up to him. But that's where I think Hikori, they do have a lot of things going for them in this lineup. They've got the Roche potential. They've got those early rotations. And I think the big hole that Hikori can really fill is you do have an offlane Earthtrigger that you're playing against. It's a slower pace offlaner right off the get-go. You're going to have to see Moo go for that greedy build up into that Blink Dagger build up where you don't have items until you have that Blink Dagger. It's very easy for the Ursa to lane against to that extent. And that's where you hate to say it, but the pace is going to be set by these mid laners. Again, I think that both Gunner and Analog's rotations are going to be crucial for breaking open a lot of these tier 1 towers. And if it becomes a farm fest, you can't help but favor 4Zoomers a little bit more because they do have that more traditional dual core. But that's where Hikori, they've got the Batrider Ursa, they've got the more chaotic lineup where things can definitely go awry in those team fights.
Mm-hmm. And to be honest, in talking about maybe them trying to have this not devolve into a farm fest with Ursa and Batrider, I'm not entirely sure how you sort of get to that point. The Ursa or the Bat, one of the two of them will just inherently kind of have to make a move. Otherwise, if they stay passive, something has gone very, very strange with these early lanes. So we should see them push that tempo. For now, though, just kicking things off in the laning stage. So looking to the top lane, really want to see what exactly Moo does here up against the Ursa. You mentioned, I mean, you know what that Earthshaker wants, what he's going for. So they're going to be prepared for it as the arrow comes in from long range. They follow it up with the fissure. So Gardic, not the way he wanted this lane to start, as he takes quite a bit of damage. But overall, he came to the lane prepared. I mean, he's got the stick, he's got the regen, he's still holding a salve in case things really do get tough. So he should be just fine. But if you're Z-Freak, these are the plays he's going to be able to make. If you hit Gardic, great. If you don't, you're going to probably get that range creep pretty much every single time. So they're going to try and take control of the lane. But right now, they're actually pushing their way forward a bit. RDO is falling back to the tower. He is pulling the creeps with him, but that means Gardic is alone here. If they get the arrow, they need more damage still, actually. As Moo, if he's level 2, maybe that happens, but they're not able to get it. But down in the bottom lane, Vitaly going to get picked off. Envy pushing in with Husky. Okay. They don't even have the extra damage from the Geminate. That was just Swarm into Envy, sort of pushing in with the Shikuchi. And back top, yep, they've got a problem. Z-Freak just barely saved by Moo. That could have been close. RDO was maybe one more right-click away from evening that up. They're able to get themselves out, and everything will sort of reset. But this is some of the power of
Back
Mu here.
bottom.
He can just completely break apart aggression as Almisho. Okay. Envy got a little greedy there. He stuck around looking for the Ring of Health, and he does get it. That is sort of the important thing to note. But by doing so, the Dawnbreaker eventually finds him to get that kill. So, I don't know. If you're Envy, that death is a bit unfortunate, but you do get your ring. So, might honestly just be worth it in terms of his sustainability in this lane.
Yeah, the entire reason that bottom lane gets broken open is because of just the level 2 tick up. You have the swarm when your opponents are both level 1, you're playing underneath their tower. Of course, the dive makes sense, but really, Envy didn't need to do that. He had a salve on Husky if he was ever feeling pressured. I think that that death is a death that you really don't want to eat on this hero, and this is an interesting build-up from Envy. He's just going immediately for the Lincolns. This is some old build on Weaver. Of course, typically you see the treads, you see the Maelstrom, so he's relying entirely on Skikuchi to farm, and I honestly don't agree with it at all. Of course, you are playing versus Batrider. That is the easiest way for you to die in this game, but you're also playing versus both Vitali on the Venge and the Grimstroke bug. So if that Lincoln ever gets popped, it's not like you're going to show your face in these fights anyways. So I feel like going for items like the Maelstrom into the Sanjin Yasha would be way better, but I'm not Envy. Maybe he's valuing a different playstyle than I'm aware of, but it definitely feels a little bit strange.
Yeah, nobody in Dota really plays the same as Envy, to be fair, but we'll see. I mean, conflicting styles there, right? If you're the Weaver. A lot of the time we see the damage and the durability. This build more along the lines of just you stay alive by just never getting hit. So we'll see if it pays off for him. It's going to depend on really the progress on that Lincoln. If he gets that in good time and then can just transition into maybe a more conventional build, then he is going to look pretty damn smart as, yeah, up top, Moo's going to get stunned by this Inkswell. RDO just going in for the right clicks. Needs one more. Okay, two more. Never mind. But Moo is dancing around the tree. Not going to be able to get it, though. RDO will still hit. Gardic even stepping in to take some of that tower aggro so that RDO can back away with minimal damage taken. And that's the downside to rotating the support out. Z-Freak came mid to try and get some water runes, but that goes up pretty horribly. Z-Freak takes damage. He fails to get either one of the water runes for his team as Hokori got both and they got the kill. That's not ideal for Z-Freak.
No, it's not ideal at all, as well as Z-Freak still getting played upon. He was able to control his large camp a little bit more, but yeah, mid.
They're going to run him down to the tier 2 tower. Do they actually have the damage for this? Well, yeah, Almisho gets in there. He may die to the tower shot. Yeah. So he will be brought down, but if you're Analog, I don't think you care. Teammate sacrifice is well worth it as he gets the kill and it TPs himself back home to top off. So the rotation started with Z-Freak mid, doesn't really make it happen. Hokori don't completely fall back once the Mirana leaves, and they're able to take advantage of that play as Gardic is now going to jump in onto the returning Z-Freak, trying to get back up to the top lane. He was able to leap away, but the stun still connects, but Gardic doesn't have the damage for the kill. Now he needs help. RDO trying to come in, but Mu locks them both down with the fissure. Gardic will fall, but RDO is still pushing. I don't think he can really get this, or maybe he can. Almisho's in. They're going to try to keep the fight going. They need to close the gap, though. Z-Freak does not have any leap charges, and they will be able to find that kill, but now Husky has shown up. It's an absolute party here in the river, and, well, Husky may actually be losing this one, or maybe not. Good stun from Mu coming in, but RDO,
oh, no.
He's just attacking so damn fast. He's able to finish Husky off, and now Mu... Well, your friends are gone. It is time to leave. He's trying to get himself away, but the TP's coming in from Z-Freak, so this fight just will not end. Mu is still dropping, though, as Almisho's trying to stay in front of him. Going to be able to snag the rune, but at this point, his own teammates have kind of decided this is not worth chasing any further, which means Almisho is going to have to try and make some sort of mad dash to safety, as he is going to throw out that hammer, jumps away to it, but look at this. Husky's TPing in. They want this kill, and they are going to get it no matter what it takes, as they do find the pickoff, and... ET, what happened? Are lanes just overrated? Did we decide we didn't want a laning stage? Because that was multiple heroes dying, spawning back in, and then going back up to the fight for another round.
Yeah, and it feels even worse for RDO because he is not last hitting during any of that, and you have this massive wave now pushed into Moose, so it's not like you have a lane to really go back to. I think that's why right now we see him pulling the small camp on his lonesome. And I was wondering for the longest time there why Gunnar wasn't making any rotation to the mid lane, but he wasn't level 6 yet. I think that entire play starts by the fact that Ember cannot join. He is stuck just trying to get a 6 as fast as he can, and Analog is the one making the plays that are working out a little bit more effectively than this Ember Spirit as of yet. But I think they're really just trying to push the envelope in the top lane, really trying to make these plays happen. That's where Gunnar, who is level 6, will make this easy rotation, but there's no level in chains. I think they still got Gardic, though, without boots.
Yeah, they're going to be able to get him. He was trying to stay in the middle of those neutrals looking for the deny, but not going to be able to make that happen. So Analog goes bot, gets himself the kill. Gunnar then rotates top for a pick off of his own, and well, the world sort of comes back to equilibrium. But we mentioned with heroes like the Ursa and the Weaver that there was going to be a lot of activity, and so far it has lived up to that. It's been a little haphazard at times. That fight in the river was just kind of unexpected, but this is the kind of faster tempo that I think Hokori, even if they're not finding all these kills, are going to want to try and maintain. As you do see a fight breaking out mid, Gunnar is going to get stunned up. No, he's not. Able to jump away with the Remnant. Z-Freak now coming in with the Haste Rune. They're going to turn onto Elmisho, and the Dawnbreaker no longer has abilities to work with. He will be run down as Husky gets the kill, and well, 4Zoomers rushing heroes to the point of attack there. Z-Freak, in fact, with the Haste Rune, is actually still scouting, and he does run into Analog, so he can't get a kill here, obviously, but you just keep Analog from farming for a few seconds longer. That honestly does kind of matter. The Batrider needs to stack up that napalm, so if he's chasing you out of his woods, he's obviously not setting up for the farm immediately.
Yeah, and that's where Analog really fast boots of travel this game. He's been doing a fantastic job, not really slowed down ever. But it's a good rotation in from Gunnar to steal at least one of these creeps, I believe, away from Analog. But you've already missed your timing to contest this Batrider. And
good arrow, though, but the supports are here. No, this is going to get complicated. Yeah, they've got to just back out. Gunnar, well, he's got one Remnant left, but there's the lasso. That's going to catch him out. Z-Freak, meanwhile, finished off by RDO to the west. And Gunnar, well, he's waiting for reinforcements. Husky will arrive. They go in with the shield crash. That's going to take Gardic down. Elmisho, though, able to jump into the river. But Gunnar tried to follow him, but that is, well, really all they're going to be able to get here. They will take the support kill, but well, okay, there we go. Jeez, took him a little while longer, but Gunnar's able to find the kill. No pressure onto RDO, though, and the Batrider was simply able to walk away while that whole thing was happening. So, I mean, you get 2 kills. That's going to count for something. You do have to sacrifice one of your own, but it just feels like these plays are getting so complicated early on as RDO, he thought about it. Inkswell was on him, but he wasn't going to catch up to Moo in time.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a forced play there, and one that I feel like Gunnar is doing exactly what he needs to do to find these punishes. He has to be so careful on Gardic here.
There's a TP in, yeah. Okay. They're getting Elmisho into position. RDO's going to start dishing out the damage, and Gunnar, his reinforcements are getting pushed back, but he is going to be able to jump to the Remnant, jumps back to the other one. Meanwhile, Moo in with the Echo. That's a very nice play onto Gardic, but that's the only one they get. Now Moo has to run. RDO, though, that's a very angry bear, but the Searing Chains, nicely played by Gunnar. RDO has no HP. He's got to back off. Husky, though, doesn't want to let him go. The swashbuckle's in, and he's got it. Between himself and Gunnar with the Sleight of Fist, they do find that pick off. Vitaly, though, was eventually able to run down Moon. Now they'll turn their attention back to Gunnar. They need to be able to lock him down, though, with one final right-click. They will get it, but it comes at a cost. Elmisho was taken down. But at least they got their target. Now Husky, he's looking for Vitaly. He's got the swashbuckle, but I don't know if that's enough damage, and Husky thinks he's probably not going to get it, so he will back himself away, but no. You see, in terms of the kill count, technically speaking, Hokori will lose more, but the gold is kind of even off the back of that play.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you do lose Gunnar there. He did a really good job kiting around in that fight. I think the double Remnant there going back and forth was super sick from him, getting his opponents to really move towards where his Remnant was going and then completely breaks their ankles, but that's where his build really is enabling right now. Unfortunately, with no points in Flame Guard, he is dead set in his rotations. There is no recovery method for this Ember Spirit right now. You will see that really reflected in his last hits. He hasn't been relying on his small camp Instead, he has been relying on this top lane, which has been working out for him, and I think it's going to continue to work out for him, as Vitaly did just walk into the wave on half HP, so this is a super free kill for him, but that's where Envy in the bottom lane, I don't think they've got him. This is quite the
No.
stretch, and this is the weakness. They've spent so much time top that this bottom lane getting extended as long as it has, you see this Weaver feeling really safe, really secured in every single rotation he makes. He's even trying to play slower just because he's not going to give a kill to anyone down here. But that is where the big issue with Batrider Ursa Core is you do not have a tower hitter. These tier 1s are going to stay alive for an extremely long time, where 4Zoomers just need to play the defense game, and one that they are always going to win. Their wave clear is exceptional. They are never going to give up these towers without a very long, very dragged out fight. And that's where you even see Hokori trying to make the play in the mid tower and the top tower instead. And okay, they're going to try to get top, but
Analog canceled his TP.
Oh no.
So he is not here, but okay. Here comes Elmisho into the fight, but they don't actually lock anyone down with that Solar Guardian, and Gardic is still just dying to the creeps. He is going to be able to fall back to the tower, but now Moo's coming in. They're looking for the fight. Envy's here as well. They trade out supports, but they want more. Elmisho going to get stunned up under the tower. RDO is here, but for what purpose? I don't really know if he wants this fight with this many enemies in the vicinity, and Analog isn't here yet. He's actually using the Firefly to cut that travel time, but that means he's not going to have that magic damage for any sort of engagement, but well, we'll see what they can do. Envy was pushing forward, doesn't go up onto the high ground just yet, though, so they can't spring that trap, and now Envy stunned up, but Z-Freak's there with the arrow. Vitaly's going to get hit. Starstorm now comes in. They need the second hit. No, they don't. Gunner, with the Sleight of Fist, is able to make that kill happen. Vitaly dead, and now, if you're Hokori, what more can you do here? We do see Elmisho respawning, so he's going to try to get involved again, but only target they had was Gunner, and he's just able to get himself away while his teammates took the tier 1 tower.
Well, Elmisho, you got to be careful.
Oh, there's Gunner back in with the Remnant. The arrow connects. Oh, Elmisho thought he was safe. Analog, okay, that's a lasso play, but not going to be able to do much with it. Moo prevents him from getting further away with that fissure. That's really their best sort of defensive move against that that lasso. And Hokori kind of losing a little bit of cohesion here. You see the TP mid. They're trying to get onto Husky, but the roll's simply going to get him away, and they really aren't finding too many opportunities on the back end of that fight, and you see the results. 4Zoomers 4K ahead now, just 14 minutes in.
Yeah, the misplays are definitely stacking up. They're playing the tempo lineup, and they're not finding their targets. They need the Grimstroke next to the Batrider. They need to find something connecting right now, because as of right now, you are very simply getting Searing changed into arrows and dying off cooldown. Even though Gunner, I think, has the bottom 6 of the core's last hits-wise, he's sitting at the top of the net worth chart because he is 9-2 right now. Every single rotation he's made to the top lane has been so fruitful. You even see him going for a little bit of a crazy build here. He's got the Mage Slayer queued up, which is a different avenue that I think I've seen any Ember Spirit going as of yet. Of course, the item getting changed around to definitely be a little bit more beneficial, but Envy also completing his Lincoln Spirit, another 200 gold here. And you see the full 5-man of Hokori having to make this trip to the bottom lane because that's all they can do. They need to brute force down these tier 1 towers while both of the creep waves on the 4Zoomers side are already at their tier 2s. It just feels like right now 4Zoomers are taking over the enemy team's territory right now, and Hokori, with again those few misplays, are falling so far behind right now. They're not able to play really at the speed that they want, and back to this Dawnbreaker, who is struggling to find any game. Elmisho died, TP'd top, died again, and has not been able to play in the same fashion that he really wants to. He wants to play on the other side of the map. He wants to make that easy Dawnbreaker ulti in, Solar Guardian rotation, but his teammates are never in a position to be set up. I don't think we've seen a Solar Guardian into Lasso play once this game. It's just way too disconnected right now. And you look at the items coming out too. Of course, you got Analog working on that BKB, which is going to come out. He is the most farmed hero on his team, but everyone else is incredibly staggered. The best timing for them really is going to be Vitaly getting up that Aghanim Scepter, in which case you are going to have 2 lives on the Vengeful Spirit, but that's it. You are not really playing towards any huge timings for them. This is really not feeling like a good position.
Especially if Analog gets jumped here. He's alone top. They're just going to make the move. The arrow won't hit, but they won't need it. He's just completely locked down. He had no idea that those heroes were there. 4 in the north side jungle, but Analog just steps that bit further forward than he should have, and he gets punished for it immensely. And now we are seeing the ultimate sort of double-edged sword, that permanent risk that you run with this up-tempo lineup. If these plays do not succeed, if you're not finding the pickoffs, everything else falls flat. Their team fight is not very strong right now. Their pushing power is abysmal, and
Well,
they don't really farm
get Gunner.
fantastically either. But Gunner, does he go back in? Not going to commit fully for it. Killing to Vitali would have been nice, but I think he suspected that there were heroes nearby, so not going to make that play, but Gunner can afford to make that kind of move. There's really not a whole lot to punish him right now.
Yep, and it's where you double down on this lineup that still doesn't have that much lockdown. Everything, it needs to be coming from Analog, and Analog has not been finding his targets. I think every single lasso has been a whiff thus far. You aren't seeing that combination play, and Ags on Moo so fast this game, and look at him just running around. It's not the blink dagger, but if you ever step out of line, we continue to see this Z-Freak Gunner pairing working out fabulously. Every single searing chains is an arrow, and oh, you have to be so careful.
They could even
They're
set
waiting
it
for the
up with
creep
the
wave right now.
Frazier. Analog has to stay safe. After getting picked off in this exact position last time, you think he sort of has maybe a little bit more suspicions about going
But
there again, but
mid.
Moo wants in. Good silence from Gardic, though. That's going to briefly delay the initiation, but delay is the operative word. They are still going in on that 4Zoomers side, but Analog is now here, trying for the lasso, but they only get it onto one as that soulbind unfortunately comes to an end, and Gunner on the other side of the fight, he just kept going. Vitali and Gardic are already dead. Now here comes Husky rolling in, connecting onto multiple heroes with that Rolling Thunder. Analog's just getting completely wiped out. You do see El Micho trying to come in, though, and the heal is keeping the Bat Rider alive, but not for long enough. Gunner able to pick it up, and now Envy coming in from the east. Fissure from Moo locks them both down. RDO with very little HP. He will fall. El Micho's dead as well, and Gunner picks up 4 of the 5 as they trade out Z-Freak for pretty much everyone, and ET, there's the game in a nutshell, really. 5-for-1 trade at the 17.5-minute mark.
Yep, and you just were one step behind on Analog there. If you're able to connect, get the double lasso there onto Moo, then maybe that fight goes better for you, because for the second time, Moo is just able to leap away with the Aghanim Scepter. You aren't able to find the burst on them. They aren't able to get these swap plays going for them either. They just stick around in the fight a little bit too long. Gunner, who has a full Mage Slayer now completed up, still has a very, very free game. I think this Bat Rider pick was a huge gamble for them, and they aren't playing to its advantage. They're not able to actually get really anything going for them right now, and Moo's playing underneath the ward, and, well, they need the silence, and they're not going to get it. Nope.
Man. At that point, that was probably your best opportunity. He's right in the middle of about 3 or 4 of your own, and they weren't able to lock him down. So, really, that is the benefit of this, Aghanim's play from Moo. Yeah, unless you actually silence him up and prevent him from getting the cast off, he is going to be able to make moves to get out and now moves to get back in. As Vitali gets locked down too far forward in the middle lane, he will fall, and Gunner, he wants a little bit more. He's going forward with the Sleight of Fist. Searing Chains weren't ready, though, so they're not going to be able to get that lockdown as Gardic comes in with the Soul Bind, but, well, meh. Not fantastic. I mean, it prevents a follow-up initiation, but that is your ult down on the Grimstroke, which means now, for Zoomers, I mean, they know that they can push forward without having to deal with that leash.
Yeah, 4Zoomers are just simply outplaying their opponents right now. They're playing with this huge level lead that really, Hokori, they need one team fight, and then this game looks a little bit more even. They're just so starved on everyone, and they glyphed the top waves. Yep, good glyph from Gunner. TP's in on the wave that he can't kill in time, and Moo, solo kill. Okay, this game's just falling apart right now. I really think they need to maybe try and force a play onto their pit. If they can smoke in there, 4Zoomers aren't really good at killing Roche, but that's where it feels like Hokori, who are way worse at killing towers, just never have this opportunity. They're just playing so well with the lead right now. And Envy, who went back for the Maelstrom, fixes his build a little bit. They have no kill potential onto this Weaver. That's the benefit of getting this Lincoln Sphere. You have to get maybe a Blink Dagger on Analog to ever catch him off guard if he went for that Maelstrom Sanjin Yasha build, but that's where you're still seeing Hokori, who have gone for this off-lane Vengeful Spirit for Dawnbreaker. There's just no guarantee in their play. Everything is a huge toss-up. The best spell they have to start this party off is just that Grimstroke ulti into the lasso, but there's nothing right now. There is no play getting made where 4Zoomers with the much simpler lineup again. This is why teams aren't picking the Dawnbreaker, and a lot of the teams who have those strategies that were coming into this tournament are just playing them because what works, works. This is just another game where we're seeing Dawnbreaker fall behind in levels, not have really any impact. It's just another body to throw on top of the feed train, and one where for Zoomers, again, they're playing so well with this lead. They're just giving no options to Hokori. We're waiting for that BKB on Analog, and then maybe we see some drag back, but there's no burst damage to follow it up. It's where a hero like, if you saw El Micho on the Lion, possibly again, we could see that burst damage coming through, but instead you have this awkward Dawnbreaker in a lineup that you're already sort of failing with, and you got the Fey Grenade on Earthshaker as well. This is just a disaster.
Vitali gonna lose his life. There's that double lasso coming in, though, but they need the follow-up, and they just don't have it. RDO's completely locked. Okay. Completely locked down. Moo just slams it home with the Echo.
Rampage.
Let him have it. There it is. Moo with the Rampage. That's just a little bit rude, all things considered. But Moo wanted it. Moo gets it. And that was horrible for Hokori. I mean, they start with Vitali getting sort of picked off there in the lane itself. With the Aghanim Scepter, I mean, he's still able to contribute technically. But he loses his life right away. You group up for the follow-up fight. And RDO, I don't know that he did any damage in that fight. He gets hit by the Rolling Thunder, he gets hit by the Fissure, then he gets hit by the Echo Slam, and there's just no game for him.
No, and you look at the net worth chart, that is just the game right there. They get to go to Roche now. Unfortunately, for Hokori, they're not able to play around the one aspect that their lineup has going for them, and I feel like the game is quickly spiraling out of control. It was already spiraling out of control, but it's just those misplays on the map where they stick around in that top area for too long. They play into 4Zoomers field for way too much time, and they just snowball a game that they were already working really hard to win. Oh, bye, Gardo.
Yeah, bye. That's, You tried. Gardic, really nothing he can do there. He is taking down Vitali, though. He's actually on the run as well, but the Searing Chains will root him up. There's going to be the jump in from El Micho, but at this point, I'm not sure it's going to be enough. RDO, though, into the fight, actually right-clicking this time, so he is doing some damage, but Hokori just can't find anything. Analog has to back off. He's already losing all his HP, and that's got to be it. They lose all 5 again. No GG yet, but they're just not getting even the slightest opening. They don't even kill off a support that time. It's just a clean sweep from 4Zoomers.
Yep, you killed the illusion on Venge twice. She gets caught in the AoE. You're not able to find a play on anyone. And I think for the second time in a row, it's the Pango versus Dawnbreaker, where of course you swap that Dawnbreaker onto a support for the second time in a row here, but it really feels like they are making this Dawnbreaker hero seem useless. You weren't able to kill the Vengeful Spirit in that initial burst, but you're just thrown into the meat grinder. You get so much damage coming through from all of the enemy team on 4Zoomers, and I think this Earthshaker really is blowing open the game for them. There's nothing they can do for it. As soon as you dogpile to get on top of this fight, you can't walk up. You didn't even see Analog going for a lasso there. He died so quickly. He knew the position he was in and didn't even go for it. He knew that there was absolutely nothing he could even try in this circumstance. And now you've got a full Daedalus almost completed on Envy, who still has this Aegis. This game just feels like something they couldn't start. Oh, Moo.
There it is. Jumps in, gets the initial stun. Once he realizes nobody's going to stop him, he pops the ult. Gardic and Analog both taken down. Now the BKB comes out. And Hokori, they are making a mad dash back to the fountain. They're not all making it home, though. Vitali will be taken down. The Illusion will make the trip back, but that really doesn't matter too much. But now RDO coming in. He's got the Inkswell on him, but he's got to be able to hit up somebody. He's trying for Gunnar, but Gunnar is going to be able to survive. His teammates come in to back him up. RDO gets stunned up, taken down. This is just turning into an absolute massacre.
GG.
Yeah, the GG. I mean, at that point, there's just nothing left. It's another 5-man wipe to close this one out in style. And ET, you know, in game one, we mentioned maybe 4Zoomers took it a little bit slower than they needed to. They do not make that same decision in this second match. They go all in, a 25-minute victory.
Yeah, and 4Zoomers that we haven't seen play at this level in a little bit, so I'm excited to see them back to form with this game. This is the 4Zoomers that was playing around with their food, killing people with a Pangolier that was 15 and 0. Now, of course, Gunner with 14 and 2, not too shabby. It just feels like Hokori, they spent so much time in their own jungle. They had to respond to the aggression, and that's the issue that really occurred whenever you have Ursa Batrider cores. I think it's a draft oversight a little bit. You don't have that tower counterplay. You're playing versus a Weaver who is already going to match up pretty nicely versus your heroes. And I think they just stuck around way too long. It took so long for 4Zoomers to actually kill that tower in the top lane, but they got so many kills in the meantime. They were really covering the distance there. And that's where Gunner, who didn't go for the farming build, he was all in on the fight build, and Hokori gave him the fight. I think if they go for a much slower game, if they play around their bottom tower a little bit more, they end the laning stage for just a little bit too long. They keep this laning stage extended for so long with Weaver playing bottom. It played into Envy's itemization. It played into the playstyle that they wanted to go for. Envy had a 16-minute Lincoln Sphere, and then I think around the 19-minute mark, you see Hokori make the full 5-man rotation towards that bottom lane, but because of that, you give the entire enemy team your jungle, a jungle which you still feed into. You make that big rotation towards top. I don't think we ever saw Hokori go for smoke plays in this game because you look at their lineup, who are you smoking? You're smoking a Batrider to run at someone who's going to break in that vision in the meantime. It just felt like Hokori's draft was kind of bad here. And of course, they're trying out the new hero, but for I think the fourth time in a row, Dawnbreaker falls behind on levels, falls behind on items. This is the third time we've seen a support position, but it's just fuel to the fire versus a team that never let go of their lead.
Yeah, 4Zoomers took the lead early and just never looked back. So Hokori, well, in the draft we were mentioning the potential, right, for them to try and maybe push up tempo, but as soon as it's clear that that's not working out, as soon as it's clear that Envy's just been given the free lane, it really does fall apart for them. So Hokori, unfortunately, suffered the defeat here. That is a 0-2 sweep against them. So if you remember at the start of the series, I mentioned they were one of just 3 teams that had yet to lose a series outright. No longer the case, obviously. So those 2 remaining teams, I believe, are Infamous and No Ping. But Hokori had their chance, doesn't quite work out for them, and the Dawnbreaker experiment continues with not great results here. But congratulations to 4Zoomers. A 2-0 sweep gets them sort of back up into that top 1 to 3 range alongside D2 Hustlers and Team. But speaking of D2 Hustlers, they are going to be next up on the schedule. They are facing off against FG. FG, for those of you unaware, the team formerly known as Furia Jovum. Some issues with their name and logo, so they did have to switch things up, but it is still going to be that same roster. They'll be taking on D2 Hustlers in our next series. So with that in mind, we are going to be hopping into a bit of a break while we wrangle those 2 teams into the lobby. So stick around for 10 to 15 and we'll have FG versus D2 Hustlers coming your way in a little bit.